We have breaking news in the NHL. We have two NHL trades to discuss today. Ryan Reaves and Connor Timmins are both on their ways to new teams. We'll discuss those deals coming up next. So welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. As I mentioned, we have some breaking news. We actually have a couple of NHL trades to discuss. It's been a little while since we've had an official trade, and we get two very close together, only a short time apart. So first up, we got word that the New York Rangers were trading forward Ryan Reaves. He's headed to the Minnesota Wild in exchange for a 5th round pick in the 2025 NHL draft. And of course, in the last day or two, these are both players that we've talked about his surfacing in the rumor mill. I didn't expect things to materialize quite so quickly, but here we are. When Reaves was first mentioned in the rumor mill, Edmonton was linked as a possible team. They may have been in the mix here, but certainly Minnesota makes a lot of sense as well. Ryan Reaves, of course, did play in Pittsburgh. Of course, GM Bill Guerin used to work in Pittsburgh. He'd have some familiarity of him there. Of course, everybody knows Reaves from being in the NHL a while, but there is a personal connection as well. Guerin made a point to say that this was not about getting somebody else in their lineup who can fight. Obviously, having that grit and toughness doesn't hurt, but he said it's also about the fact that Ryan Reaves carries himself well with a big personality, a lot of swagger, and that will certainly be hopefully be infectious on the rest of the group and in the lineup and help in different ways. So certainly makes a lot of sense, but obviously Reaves is a big guy, one of the most feared fighters around the NHL as well. I know the Minnesota Wild last year, around playoff time before the deadline, they had Nick Delorier for a little while, and just having that extra guy there like that provides that presence. That certainly did allow the offensive players to, I think, play a little more loose, and it did seem to help as well. So an interesting pickup there. Of course, we know the New York Rangers were looking for some cap flexibility. Ryan Reaves has found himself in a spot where he's been a healthy scratch a number of times as of late. Of course, he was brought into the Rangers back a couple years back now when they thought that they really needed to be a much tougher, grittier team after seeing Tom Wilson manhandle Artemi Panarin and a few others in that Washington Ranger brawl. Was it long after that we saw Jeff Gorton and John Davidson be dismissed. Owner James Dolan certainly wanted to add some muscle to the group, that's for sure. Of course, we got Gerard Gallant and Chris Drury running the show there now. And Reaves come along, which wasn't a big surprise because of his relationship with Gerard Gallant from their time in Vegas. That wasn't surprising, but given the fact of what he brings, I don't think it's an issue of the Rangers not liking Reaves or having him on a roster. I just think they have other things they want to do with the cap situation that this doesn't allow them to keep him for the price tag that comes with him. Now, in the other move, with the Toronto Maple Leafs acquiring young defenseman Connor Timmins from the Arizona Coyotes. Going back the other way is minor league forward Curtis Douglas. Of course, Connor Timmins was a highly drafted defenseman originally with the Colorado Avalanche. He has had a terrible string of luck when it comes to injuries in the past 2-3 years, really ever since he's been drafted. He's only had a handful of NHL games so far, a limited amount of time in the minors as well. Currently down in Tucson on a conditioning stint. He'll make the jump to the Maple Leafs here. Of course, we talked about him in the last day or two as well as being a defenseman that was likely going to be moved by the Coyotes in the not too distant future. Again, I didn't think it'd be within a day or so, but it was believed based on the rumors that he was going to be traded probably in the next week or two by the time that the conditioning stint that he was on was expiring, and to get him to an NHL roster, it made sense for him and the team to kind of get a fresh start here, since things never really materialized. But of course, he was acquired by the Coyotes from the Avalanche when they made the trade for goaltender Darcy Kuemper. Of course, they went on to win the Stanley Cup with Kuemper in net, and Timmins has continued to struggle staying healthy, but there is a lot of potential there. I mean, he's got a good-sized defenseman. I think he's like 6'2", around 220 pounds. The size is there. The connection is there. Again, don't be shocked by this at all, but the Maple Leafs and Dubas and Keefe continue with the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds connection. Of course, Timmins was in the Sioux as well. Good friend and partner with Rasmus Sandin at one point. So a lot of familiarity there with one of the other defensemen, of course, the GM and the coach. And Timmins, of course, is an Ontario born and raised player as well. So obviously close to home, lots of familiarity within the organization. So again, we've seen Morgan Riley go down with a sprained MCL. He's now on long-term injury reserve. Timmins is in the final year of his contract, $850,000, so not a lot of money. So from a cap perspective, it's fairly manageable, and he will be a restricted free agent at the end of the season. So of course, it gives them a chance to kind of get through the rest of the year with him, hopefully, and see if things work out, and maybe he becomes a part of that future because he's young enough that he could still develop into something longer term. If he ever realizes the potential he had when he was drafted, it could be a very good pickup. But we've seen them have to use multiple defensemen, into their depth here. That Victor Mete and Jordy Ben continue to get opportunities. Mac Hollowell, of course Brody's been out, Riley's been out. Of course Ben was out earlier. This team has had a lot of adversity on the back end, and Connor Timmins could very well be a good piece to hopefully, if he can, get rid of that injured history and kind of stay healthy, a big part of that moving forward. It'd be very interesting to see where things go. But interesting enough, two players that we've talked about in the rumor mill just in the past 48 hours, both traded. Of course, we linked Timmins to the Leafs, so that went down like we expected, or based on what the rumors had suggested. Of course, Reaves ended up being traded, but not to the team that we originally heard might be one of the ones in the mix. So either way, a couple of deals there, which is certainly from an entertainment perspective, keeps things interesting here in the NHL. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a little bit more activity here in the coming weeks, now that we're basically at the quarter point of the season. Some teams are trying to make sure that their season goes the right way. It's kind of sink or swim time for some of these teams that are kind of on the cups. Is either you get back in that race, or it could be too late and they may be playing catch up the rest of the year and never make it. So some of these teams are going to be making some decisions here soon, so I wouldn't be shocked if we see more trades. So let me know your thoughts on both of these deals down in the comments below, and we can discuss further. If you're new to the channel, of course, make sure you subscribe and stick around. We'll keep you up to date with the latest news, rumors, and analysis of all 32 NHL teams. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you next time.